Chosen one, lean in closely. Something is shifting in the atmosphere right now. There is a stirring in the unseen, a quiet move of the spirit that bears your name. You may not see it with your natural eyes yet, but your spirit has likely felt the tremors. It is a sense of anticipation, a heaviness that is not a burden, but a pregnancy of purpose. The Lord, in His infinite grace, has drawn you to this very moment for a reason. You are not here by accident. You are not listening by chance. Something is aligning behind the scenes, and heaven has set a sequence of events in motion that cannot be stopped. There are moments in life when you can feel the pull in your chest, a holy tension, a sense that the page is about to turn. That stirring you feel is not confusion. It is not anxiety. It is preparation. It is the spiritual signal that the wait is nearing its expiration. Behold, I am doing a new thing now. It springs forth. Do you not perceive it? The Lord is making a way, even in places that felt permanently closed off to you. Perhaps your heart has grown tired. Perhaps you have been carrying more than anyone around you realizes. You have walked through a season of silence that felt deafening. You have endured a time of isolation that felt like punishment, though it was actually protection. But still, you are here. You kept walking. You kept hoping. You kept listening for the still small voice when the world around you was screaming with chaos. And now, because heaven leans in to whisper a truth you need to hear, you have not been forgotten. If you can feel the weight of this truth, if you sense that this message was sent specifically for your current season, I want you to take a small step of faith right now. Type 777 in the comments. Do not do it for anyone else. Do it as a sign to your own spirit that you are open, that you are listening, and that you are ready to receive what is about to be poured out. Let that number be a seal of your agreement with heaven's timing. This season has not been about standing still, even if it looked that way from the outside. It has been about being shaped quietly, patiently, and intentionally. Even when you felt unseen, the work was not paused, it was deepening. Roots were going down into the dark soil of your character, anchoring you for the height you were about to reach. There is a specific situation in your life involving a person, a connection, an opportunity that seemed to disappear. Someone has spoken your name with trembling recently, not out of fear, but out of reverence for what they missed. They are speaking it out of a realization of what they didn't understand until it was almost too late. Grace still makes room for redemption. Someone who once stepped away is in the process of turning back, not to rewrite the past, but to speak the truth they once held back. You may sense it already. You may feel that something beautiful is growing quietly in the background of your life. It is not loud. It is not sudden. It is real, and it is coming closer. What matters most right now is not how quickly things change, but who you are becoming as they do. The Lord has been faithful in that work. He has been refining you in the fire of silence so that you do not burn up in the spotlight of restoration. You do not have to rush this. You do not have to strive to make it happen. You are not alone in this unfolding. Something sacred is happening. Let's not miss the nuance of this moment. Pause for just a second. There is something in the air that you can't quite explain, yet you feel it in your marrow. It moves quietly like the wind through leaves, invisible, but undeniably real. Heaven is not silent. The spirit is not still. Something sacred is coming into alignment. This is not happening through force. It is not happening through manufactured drama. It is happening through divine design. While the world continues its noise, something specific, something personal is taking shape, and it carries your name. Somewhere right now, someone is thinking of you more deeply than they ever expected to. They tried to forget. They tried to push your memory aside. They tried to fill the space you left with noise, with work, with other people. But what was once dismissed has become the very thing they cannot shake. This is not guilt. This is not simple regret. This is realization. They finally see your worth. They understand what your presence brought to their life. And though they have worn a mask of indifference for a long time behind, it is a story they haven't yet told. The word says that nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light. Truth has a way of rising. It is like water. It always finds its level. The silence you have endured hasn't been empty. It has been pregnant with preparation. And now things are starting to shift. That weight you feel is not the weight of depression. It is the pressure of a breakthrough drawing near. Something is stirring in the hearts of those who misunderstood you. The silence you held with grace is echoing louder in their minds than any words of defense ever could have. The Spirit is moving pieces into place. Conversations long avoided are being rehearsed in someone's mind right now. Truths long buried are surfacing. You are not chasing answers anymore. The answers are finding their way to you. Whether it is a message, a call, or a chance encounter, clarity is approaching. It won't come as a dramatic explosion that destroys everything. It will come as a whisper that confirms what you already sensed in your spirit. You have been looking for peace. Not perfection, not validation, just peace. And that peace is beginning to bloom. Know this, you have not gone unnoticed. Your resilience, your quiet strength, your choice to walk in integrity, even when it hurt, these things are speaking, and they are being heard in high places. There is a person who once dismissed your value, who is now waking up to what they lost. Not because they were forced to, but because truth has a way of softening even the hardest pride. They tried to move on. They smiled in front of others. They posted the pictures. They played the part. But when they are alone, when the lights are off and the screen is dark, your name rises like a song that won't stop playing. Remember when Jesus met the woman at the well, she thought she was just getting water. She thought it was a mundane errand. But she encountered truth. Her entire identity was rewritten in a moment she didn't expect. Sometimes the most life-changing revelations come in moments that feel ordinary. Stay open. You may sense something new is forming, but it doesn't yet have words. That is okay. The Spirit often speaks in impressions before confirmations. What matters is not rushing to define it, but learning to trust what you feel. Your story is not stuck. It is maturing. You have been through silence. You have been through separation. You have been through deep misunderstanding. And yet, here you are. Not bitter, but better. Still expectant, still listening. That speaks volumes about the quality of your spirit. So much of destiny is not about what we chase, but what we become while we wait. While others ran, you stayed planted. While others spoke ill, you remained quiet. And in that quiet, God has been working. The time is approaching when confusion gives way to clarity. When what felt unfinished suddenly starts to make sense. When someone who couldn't speak before finally finds the courage to say what needed to be said. No manipulation, no pressure, just truth arriving on time. Someone is being moved, not by guilt, but by holy recognition. Not by loss, but by revelation. They see now. They know now. And as that knowing grows, it changes everything. There is a ripple forming around your life. People you have never met feel your presence. Places you have never walked are being prepared for your arrival. And all of it is drawing together not because you forced it, but because grace is magnetic to those who are ready. Let your heart stay soft. Let your hope remain intact. The release you have been praying for may not come all at once, but it will come. Even now, someone is revisiting a decision they once made in haste. They are learning. They are healing. They are realizing they were wrong. And you are not waiting as one who is empty. You are standing as one who is full of purpose. Your silence was not weakness. It was power under control. The next chapter of your life will not be written by fear. It will be written by faith. What comes next won't need to be chased. It will come gently, unmistakably, and in alignment with the character of God, because He is not the author of confusion, but of peace. So pause. Breathe. Open your heart. Your name has always been held in heaven's record. What you sense now is not fantasy. It is the Spirit preparing you for alignment, restoration, and a deeper understanding of what you carry. Chosen one, this moment matters. Because without forcing a thing, truth is rising, and with it, so are you. Something sacred is stirring beneath the surface. Can you feel it? There is a quiet shift happening in the unseen, a movement so subtle yet undeniable. You may not fully understand it yet, but something in your spirit knows. Things are not as they were. The atmosphere around your life is changing, not with noise or grand display, but with purpose. Heaven is not just watching. Heaven is weaving. Right now, someone is waking up to the weight of your absence. Not just the lack of your physical presence, but the space you filled with grace, patience, and quiet strength. They remember your words. They remember your laughter. But most of all, they remember your silence. Every memory is growing louder in their soul, and each one is leaving an imprint. What once seemed forgettable is now becoming unforgettable. They are facing the kind of truth that only stillness can reveal. This isn't a performance of regret. It is the honest realization that something truly meaningful was lost. Their heart has been pulling them toward a truth they have resisted for a long time. And now, that pull is getting stronger. Not because they have been pressured, but because grace has a way of returning what pride tries to bury. Scripture says, "The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit." That applies to them just as much as it applies to you. Two hearts carrying different burdens, yet being drawn into a shared healing. This moment isn't about fixing the past. It's about letting light touch what has been hidden for too long. A shift is taking place. Not a plot twist, but a heart turn. Something has started moving in their spirit. Something they didn't expect. They are starting to ask questions they never had the courage to ask before. Not out loud, but in the quiet of their thoughts. What if I misunderstood? What if I walked away from something sacred? What if it wasn't just a connection, but a calling? You may have thought the chapter was closed, but perhaps it was only paused. You weren't waiting idly. You were growing quietly, becoming more than they remembered. You didn't chase. You didn't plead. You let grace speak for you. And it did. Every step you took in silence became a lesson they never knew they needed to learn. Think of the prodigal son. He left not knowing what he was leaving. It took distance and hunger for him to see the truth. He wasn't just returning to a home, he was returning to his identity. That is the power of distance with purpose. Sometimes what seems like an end is only the road that leads to deeper understanding. Now something in them is shifting. The restlessness isn't about discomfort, it is about awakening. They are starting to realize that strength wasn't in pretending not to care. It was in admitting they did. The silence between you isn't empty. it has been filled with reflection. Every missed chance, every unsent message, every unspoken truth is finding its voice. This isn't a story about chasing validation. It is a story about alignment. Your heart has been aligning with peace. Theirs has been aligning with truth. And where peace and truth meet, healing begins. This is what restoration looks like. Not loud apologies or sudden gestures, but hearts softening under the weight of what matters. Chosen one, your presence carried more than you knew. You brought stillness into chaos. You offered kindness without demand. You showed consistency in a world that thrives on inconsistency. That left a mark. And though it may have gone unspoken, it was never unnoticed. Now someone who once underestimated your worth is sitting with the reality that you were never meant to be ordinary. Your light was different. Your words linger. Your absence speaks. There is something forming, a message, a conversation, a moment of clarity. It may not come with fireworks. It might arrive as a whisper, a quiet, trembling truth. But it will carry weight. The kind of weight that reshapes stories. And in that moment, everything could change. Not because you demanded it, but because the truth was always meant to rise. Just as Joseph was forgotten in prison before Pharaoh called his name, you too have been in a season that felt hidden. But hidden doesn't mean forsaken. It means God was working, building a lining. And at the right time, Joseph wasn't just remembered, he was positioned. That is what is happening now. The puzzle pieces are turning. The silence is softening. And someone who once stayed silent is finding their voice. Your story was never about the pain alone. It is about the transformation it led to and the transformation they are now experiencing. Not everyone gets to see how their absence affects others. But sometimes destiny allows just enough illumination to create change. They remember how you made peace feel natural, how your presence calmed storms they never admitted to. And now, even in their moments of joy, something feels incomplete, because the kind of peace you brought cannot be copied. It is not about replacing anyone. It is about recognizing that what you carried was divine. And the heart that once couldn't see it is beginning to. Every delay has been part of the design. Every moment of silence has echoed with purpose. And now the atmosphere is thick with preparation. A confession, a return, a revelation. No guarantees. No promises built on pressure. Just a gentle unfolding of what was always meant to be seen. Chosen one, let your spirit remain open. Not because you need anyone to return, but because love, when it heals, leaves no room for bitterness. Your journey has already been valid. Your growth is already evident. The rest is grace. They are learning, changing, unraveling what they used to hide. And soon something true will rise. Something big is indeed unfolding. Not because it is owed to you, but because you were faithful through the quiet. You are being remembered not just in their mind, but in their soul. And as truth comes to light, so will the purpose behind every pause in your story. Stay grounded, stay open. Heaven knows your name. And what you carry is too important to be missed. What you are sensing isn't random. It is real. There is a stirring within the unseen. A quiet unraveling of something long held. Someone who once acted like they were fine, like nothing was missing, is beginning to break under the weight of what they tried to hide. Their heart has reached a point it can no longer ignore, not because of pressure from the outside, but because of truth rising from the inside. They kept themselves busy, surrounded by noise, distractions, reasons. But your memory remained. Your kindness, your voice, your silence, all of it kept echoing in their spirit. They tried to brush it off, but you cannot forget what was real. You cannot unfeel what was true. And now, their heart is overwhelmed. The very feelings they once buried are starting to surface with force. This isn't about drama. It's about honesty. Their inner conflict is growing louder. On one side, pride performance, the need to appear unaffected. On the other, longing, inner truth, the weight of what they now see. Every quiet moment becomes a mirror. Every memory becomes a message. They are remembering all you did. Not just what you gave, but who you were. And for the first time, the loss is settling in. Remember the parable of the two sons. One said no, but later obeyed. Sometimes, it is not what people said first. It is what they choose to do next that shows the truth of their heart. That is the heart of God, the search for restoration, the pursuit of what wandered. What if what was once pushed away is now being pursued again? Not by pressure, but by faithful love that never stopped seeing its worth. What if the one who couldn't face it before is starting to? They have drafted messages in their mind 100 times. Wrote it, deleted it, rewrote it, not knowing if they have the strength to send it. Because vulnerability requires courage, and courage doesn't come easy when you've spent so long pretending not to care. But even now, the thought of reaching out grows stronger than the fear of rejection. It doesn't mean everything will be as it was, but it does mean something is being redeemed. A chapter you thought was over might be the one God is rewriting quietly, carefully. This connection was never ordinary. That is why it has never really left them. They tried to replace it, ignore it, rationalize it. But peace doesn't come from avoidance. It comes from facing what matters. They are starting to see that their world feels less bright without your light in it. Not because you were their answer, but because you carried presence. You carried patience. You carried love that asked for nothing but gave everything. That kind of love leaves a mark that cannot be erased. Ecclesiastes says there is a time for everything. A time to be silent, a time to speak, a time to search, a time to find. Maybe now they are stepping into a season of speaking what was once unspoken. They can't hide it anymore. The silence has grown heavier than the truth. And the truth, though it once scared them, now feels like relief. You may not realize it, but your stillness has been louder than shouting. Your boundaries taught them what they couldn't learn any other way. Your absence didn't just create space, it created understanding. And now they carry the weight of that understanding with them daily. There is a shift happening inside them, a sense that they have something to say they should have said long ago, that something about this unfinished story matters. That perhaps the plot isn't done, but simply paused, waiting on the courage to continue. Your memory is whispering in their soul, something deeper than nostalgia, something rooted in awakening. They are not the same person who let you go, and you are not the same person who watched them walk away. Growth happened. Grace happened. Even now, they wrestle with timing, with pride, with fear. But more than that, they wrestle with truth. And the truth is becoming louder than the fear. They are not sure how to say it. They are not sure what to expect. But they know this, what they had with you wasn't casual, and pretending otherwise no longer feels honest. Think of Moses, who once ran from Egypt, from his identity, from his calling. But in the wilderness, he encountered the burning bush, a moment that redirected everything. Sometimes people have to leave the place they were to become who they are meant to be. Sometimes they need silence to hear. And now there is a moment drawing near, a moment where the truth they have been holding in may finally be spoken, not to make up for lost time, but to honor what still matters. It won't be perfect. It may be hesitant, but it will be real. You have been patient, not passive. You have grown, not hardened. That matters because what is returning is not just a person. It is an awareness. It is a reckoning and perhaps a restoration. You don't need to chase this moment. Just stay present. Stay grounded. The truth has a way of arriving when it is ready. And when it does, you will know because your heart has been prepared. You have made space not out of longing, but out of obedience. Not for closure, but for divine insight. The days ahead may hold a message, a conversation, a shift. Not because someone finally sees your value, but because they are finally willing to admit they always did. You are not waiting for validation. You are walking in truth. And truth, no matter how long it takes, has a way of finding its voice. Stay open. Stay ready. Something beautiful is being made out of the breaking. You have been carried by grace. And now the seeds planted in silence are beginning to rise. Something is stirring deep within the hearts of those who once kept silent. There is a shift, a quiet trembling like the earth preparing to birth something new. What has been long hidden in silence is beginning to rise, not with noise, but with undeniable truth. The weight of unspoken feelings has become too heavy to carry. There are words they have written, but never sent, thoughts they have revisited over and over, and emotions they have tried to dismiss, but cannot erase. They are discovering that truth doesn't fade in the dark. It waits. And now, in a moment, they didn't expect that truth is pressing forward. They are no longer able to suppress what was once buried beneath pride or fear. Something within them is reaching for connection, not out of desperation, but out of realization. There is a divine orchestration unfolding events, aligning thoughts, returning memories, flooding in, not to haunt, but to awaken. They remember the way you listened without judgment, the way your presence made space for peace. They remember not just what you did, but who you were. That memory has become a mirror. What used to be confusion is now clarity. What used to be avoidance is now awareness. And with it comes the growing desire to be honest in a way they never were before. In the book of Esther, a hidden queen was positioned to shift the fate of a nation. She wasn't loud. She wasn't seeking attention. But at the right moment, her presence, her truth, and her courage became the turning point. Sometimes it takes time for someone to recognize the value of what was right in front of them. This moment is not about returning to the past. It is about stepping into illumination. The soul who once acted indifferent is now wrestling with truth too powerful to ignore. Every quiet thought, every song, every silence between them and your memory has become a gentle push back to what mattered. They are learning that strength isn't pretending nothing happened. Strength is admitting when something mattered more than they could admit. Right now, they are writing words they never thought they'd say. Messages typed with trembling hands. Not because they are sure of what will happen, but because they can no longer hold back the truth that has been asking to be released. That message may never be sent, but its creation means the heart is shifting. Something sacred happens when pride fades and humility rises. That is where transformation begins, and in that sacred space, revealing truth softens what fear once hardened. This story is not about regret. It is about awakening. They are not seeking to relive what was, but to honor what is still alive inside. Emotions once hidden are now being stirred by a gentle urgency. Romans 8:26 reminds us that even when we don't know how to express what's within the Spirit, intercedes with groans too deep for words. There are stirrings in the human heart that only heaven fully understands. And sometimes, what looks like confusion is the soul trying to come home. You have been steady in their absence. You have chosen peace over chaos, healing over bitterness. And that posture has spoken volumes. The silence you kept was not weakness, it was wisdom. The distance you honored gave space for truth to breathe. Now the signs around them are echoing your name. Not just externally, but internally. They hear it in their spirit, in the stillness, in the longing, in the divine insight that arrives unexpectedly. They thought time would erase the pull, but time has only made it clearer. They are waking up to the fact that something in them has always pointed back to you. Not because you are their completion, but because you were a catalyst for their growth, a mirror to their soul, a space where they were seen without performance. This is not about a fairy tale ending. It is about an honest beginning. They don't know how to approach the next step. They hesitate. They rethink. They resist. But the pull is stronger than the fear. And even now their spirit is shifting. Something unseen is unfolding, and your name is woven into it. Let your heart remain open, not to be filled, but to remain whole. What is drawn to you now is being led by understanding, not fantasy. This is not the return of what once was. This is the emergence of what was always meant to be understood. There may be a message, a word, a gesture. It might be awkward, imperfect, but it will carry honesty. And honesty holds power. Someone who used to act like they didn't care is beginning to accept that they always did. The silence they kept was never peace. It was confusion wrapped in pride. And now that confusion is giving way to inner truth. Like David returning from the battlefield, broken but transformed, they are realizing that they left something on the battlefield of the past. Not a person, but a truth. And that truth is calling them back to what was never supposed to be forgotten. No more running. No more rehearsing the story to make it sound easier. Now is the time when even their stillness confesses what words once denied. Your story is turning, and not because someone came back, but because your healing made room for revelation. Your breakthrough has never depended on someone else's arrival. It has always lived in your own becoming. And yet, as you continue to walk forward, something or someone may arrive, not to define you, but to reflect what you've grown through. Let it be. Let the truth rise. Let love be redefined, not as what fills the void, but as what honors the journey. Chosen one, heaven is not behind schedule, and your heart has not been ignored. The words they never said are rising. The moment they never expected is forming. And you are ready. Not to chase, not to wait, but to recognize the sacred shift unfolding before you. Your part is to stand in truth, to trust the voice within. Because that voice has always known what the world is only just beginning to remember. You were never forgotten. You were always becoming. And what unfolds next will carry the fingerprints of grace. Lean in, because something sacred is unraveling beneath the surface. There is a quiet stirring in someone's soul, a restlessness that words have failed to express. They once wore confidence, like a mask, pretending your absence meant nothing. But beneath the surface, that mask is cracking. Each moment of silence between you has become louder than any argument, and each memory of you has begun to echo like a truth that they can no longer suppress. This isn't about longing for the past. It's about the heart's awakening. What they once avoided, they now face with trembling inner truth. The awareness isn't soft. It's shaking them to the core. Not just because of who you were to them, but because of what they've lost in pretending it didn't matter. Peace, safety, belonging. Your presence brought something no one else could replicate. And now that it's gone, the weight of every unspoken word, every unacknowledged moment is pressing in. You have become the quiet voice in their head during stillness, the unseen comfort they seek when everything else feels unstable. They thought time would help them forget, but time has only sharpened the memory. The emotions they pushed away have returned stronger. What was once buried under pride is now breaking the surface with urgency. In the Gospels, we read of Peter, bold, impulsive, loyal. Yet even he denied the one he loved when fear overtook him. But love has a way of calling us back. After the resurrection, Jesus didn't shame Peter. He simply asked, "Do you love me not to punish, but to restore?" And it was in that tender moment that Peter was renewed, recommissioned, and reminded that failure isn't the end. It can be the beginning of something deeper. That is the kind of moment approaching now. A heart that once ran is finding its way back. Not through pressure, not through guilt, but through the power of truth that refuses to stay silent. They have rehearsed what they'd say to you more times than they'd ever admit. Written messages they never sent. Paused over your name in conversations, wondering if someone else could feel what they still carry. The confession they have avoided has become a whisper they can't ignore. Their soul is tired of pretending, and now the truth they kept hidden is stirring. This moment isn't about a grand return. It's about quiet divine insight. A shift that has long been building piece by piece in moments they thought it didn't matter. They are realizing that your silence said more than their words ever could. You have lived with grace. You have moved forward without bitterness, and that integrity has done what arguments never could. It created space for conviction. Now the internal war between pride and vulnerability is nearing its breaking point. And vulnerability is starting to win. They miss you. Not just who you were, but how you made them feel. Grounded, seen, known. It's not nostalgia that brings your name back to their mind. It's a deeper knowing that the peace they once had wasn't circumstantial. It was connected to your presence. And now the ache of your absence is leading them to a crossroads. They thought strength meant walking away. Now they are learning true strength might be having the courage to return. Not to what was, but to what's true. Someone is on the edge of honesty. Not because it's easy, but because the weight of silence has become harder to bear than the risk of speaking. There is a message they've rewritten a dozen times. A call they've almost made. Words forming in the quiet. Waiting for the courage to rise above fear. And you've grown in the silence. You have become more than they remembered. What you carry now isn't just hope. It's healing. You don't need them to come back to be whole. But if they do return, it will be to someone who has already found peace. This isn't about reopening old wounds. It's about recognizing where healing began and what helped it take root. The change happening in them isn't just emotional, it's spiritual. Something deeper is moving. And in that space, they are being led to honesty, perhaps for the first time. Isaiah 30:21 says, "Your ears shall hear a word behind you, saying, 'This is the way, walk in it.'" That is what they are beginning to hear now. A quiet inner voice directing them to truth, to reconciliation, to clarity. They might hesitate. They might fumble through the words. But the very fact that they are stirred shows that something in the spirit is aligning. Let this moment be one of compassion. You don't need to fix, rescue, or prove anything. You are not responsible for their revelation, but you are part of their awakening. You were not forgotten. Your role in their life was never random. And even if they couldn't name it before, they are beginning to now. The words they once swallowed are rising. The emotions they suppressed are cracking open. And the recognition that they lost more than time, that it was connection, honesty, and healing, is leading them to face what they once fled from. You have already crossed your own mountains. This is not about returning to what was, but being present for what is becoming. They are being moved, not by force, but by freedom. Not because you demanded it, but because truth is doing what truth does. It sets hearts free. Be still in this moment. The story isn't finished, but it is unfolding. And every heartbeat brings it closer to a chapter that's more honest than any that came before. Chosen one, your quiet strength has been the lighthouse in their storm. They may not have seen it until now, but they feel it. Something is breaking open, not to destroy, but to reveal. And when that truth comes, it will not be shouted. It will be whispered with trembling hands and honest eyes. You don't need to chase it. You have already walked with grace. Now simply watch as truth begins to find its way home. There is something sacred stirring just beneath the surface of what seems still. Have you ever felt a moment when time feels thick, when even silence seems to speak? That stillness isn't empty. It is a chamber where divine truths echo. Right now, somewhere in the quiet corners of someone's heart, an awakening is forming. Not loud, not dramatic, but deep. Like roots growing under soil, unseen, but strong. They are awakening not just to what was lost, but to what was never truly seen. Your presence in their life wasn't just meaningful, it was foundational. And now, in the soft unraveling of pride, that foundation is being acknowledged. This isn't about rewriting history. It's about finally seeing it clearly. There are truths that don't arrive with divine insight until the noise has settled. And now, with fewer distractions, they are facing a kind of illumination they hadn't been ready for, one that reveals your patience, your prayers, your peace. Those things cannot be manufactured. They are the fruits of a spirit that has endured and matured in the secret place. In Genesis 32, Jacob wrestles through the night not with an enemy, but with God himself. And in that holy wrestling, he is changed. His name is changed. His identity is marked. Beloved, sometimes the transformation doesn't happen when everything is peaceful. Sometimes it happens when the soul is restless. When someone just like Jacob finds themselves unable to run from truth any longer. And in that wrestle, there is awakening. There is someone wrestling right now. Not with you, not even with the past, but with their own heart. They are coming to terms with the cost of silence, with the weight of moments they thought were small, but now loom large in their memory. What once felt like distance now feels like a void. And the very things they thought they could live without are showing up in dreams, in thoughts, in ordinary moments that carry extraordinary weight. They are revisiting old words, replaying your kindness, your grace under pressure. And suddenly the masks of self-protection don't fit like they used to. The story they told themselves no longer brings peace. Because truth has a way of knocking not with violence, but with persistence. You were never loud about what you carried, but heaven saw it. You loved without needing to be praised. You gave without needing applause. And that kind of love leaves a mark. It's not easily replaced. It's not easily forgotten. And now it is being remembered. There is a passage in 2 Kings 4 where the Shunammite woman builds a room for the prophet Elisha. She doesn't ask for anything. She simply makes space. And in that space, God does what only God can do. He breathes life into what was barren. Do you see it, beloved? Your quiet faithfulness created a space. And now something is stirring in that space. A breath, a thought, a return to truth. Someone who once walked away from peace is walking back in their heart. Not because you forced it, not because you waited, but because the Spirit doesn't let what is holy go unnoticed. Their thoughts are growing heavy with words they never said. Not out of pressure, but because the time for silence is passing and the time for truth is beginning to dawn. You have become a mirror. They look back, and instead of just seeing you, they see who they were, who they could have been, and who they now long to become. And that longing, that's not a weakness. That's a holy invitation. An invitation not just to reconnect, but to grow. The Apostle Paul once stood blinded on the road to Damascus, thinking he knew truth until truth met him face to face. And in his blindness, he finally began to see. That's what revelation can do. It interrupts. And someone in your story is being interrupted not to bring shame, but to open their eyes. They don't know how to speak it yet. The words feel too weighty. But in their soul, a revealing is forming, one that acknowledges not only your impact, but their own resistance to it. It's not about whether they come back with polished speeches. It's about whether their heart is learning to kneel. And you are not standing still. You are being elevated quietly, righteously. Every silent prayer you whispered, when no one saw, every tear that fell, when no one understood, the Lord saw it all. And He has not forgotten. This moment isn't about waiting for someone to return. It's about recognizing that what was planted in obedience always bears fruit in due season. Galatians 6:9 says, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." You are stepping into that harvest. One where truth replaces confusion, where peace overtakes striving, where restoration, if it comes not to complete you, but to honor what was already whole. What they are sensing now is not just memory. It is mercy. It is the grace of God, gently leading them to the edge of truth. And you are the evidence of that grace. You carry the aroma of someone who stayed rooted, even in storms. Let the Holy Spirit continue His work. Don't rush to explain. Don't run to fix. Just remain in the place of peace. Because in that peace, the heart can hear more clearly than in any argument. Chosen one, you are not waiting in vain. You are witnessing a shift, a holy shift. One that doesn't announce itself with thunder, but moves like oil, quiet, pure, undeniable. Clarity is forming in them, in you. And in that rising, something sacred is being restored. Not just a relationship, but a revelation. And when it arrives, it won't need to prove itself, because real things don't need to be forced. You have always been known. You have always been planted. And now the seeds you sowed in silence are breaking through the surface. Not because someone returned, but because truth did. And that is the beginning of everything new. If you are still standing, if you are still believing, I want you to seal this word right now. Type, "I am still standing" in the comments. Let it be a declaration that the weight did not break you, it built you. As this message draws to a close, let everything you have heard settle gently into your spirit. This journey has not been about chasing signs, forcing outcomes, or waiting on another person to complete what God has already been forming within you. It has been about recognition. Recognition that the quiet seasons were not wasted, that the stillness was doing the work words never could, and that the waiting shaped you more than you realized. The Lord has been working in the unseen, weaving patience, discernment, and strength into your character, while you remained faithful in small, hidden ways. What has been unfolding is not merely a change in circumstances, but a deep alignment of heart truth and purpose. You have seen how silence can become a teacher, how restraint can become wisdom, and how love expressed without demand carries lasting power. This story has revealed that transformation often begins not when words are spoken, but when hearts are softened. You were never asked to carry another person's awakening, only to walk in integrity, humility, and peace. And that choice has mattered more than you know. It has created space for truth to rise naturally without pressure or fear in God's perfect way. As you move forward, let this awareness shape your daily life in practical ways. Begin by honoring stillness again. Set aside moments without noise, without screens, where you allow prayer, reflection, or quiet gratitude to ground you. Practice speaking honestly and gently in your relationships, not from urgency, but from inner truth. Guard your peace by choosing forgiveness, where resentment once tried to take root, even if that forgiveness is a private act between you and God. Continue walking in consistency. Show up fully in your responsibilities, your work, and your calling. Even when no one seems to notice, heaven always notices. Let your actions reflect what has already grown within you. Choose patience over reaction. Choose listening over explaining. Choose faithfulness over fear. When questions arise, return to prayer rather than speculation. When memories surface, hold them with compassion instead of regret. And when opportunities come, whether small or significant, meet them with the quiet confidence of someone who knows they are guided, not rushed. Chosen one. This conclusion is not an ending, but a confirmation. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not waiting in vain. You are walking forward as someone who has been refined, strengthened, and prepared. What unfolds next will do so naturally, because it is built on truth, not striving. Remain steady, remain open, remain rooted. The work God has begun within you is already bearing fruit, and it will continue to unfold in ways marked by peace, illumination, and grace. Before we close today, take a breath and let this moment hold you. What you feel stirring inside is not confusion, it's confirmation. The Spirit is near, and a prayer is rising for those ready to align their hearts with heaven. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, eternal God of truth and mercy, we come before you. With hearts open, hands surrendered, and spirits listening. We know that nothing is hidden from you, not the pain we carry, not the questions we whisper in silence, not even the hope we dare not speak aloud. You see all, and still you love without measure. Lord, thank you for the seasons of stillness. For it was in the quiet that you planted seeds of endurance. Thank you for the silence that shaped our strength, for the waiting that became a sanctuary of faith. You have been present even when we couldn't feel it, guiding us not by what we see, but by your Spirit that never sleeps. We lift up the ones wrestling with truth tonight. Those who have buried feelings beneath fear, who masked their longing behind pride, who walked away not because they didn't care, but because they didn't know how to stay. Father, meet them in their awakening. May your grace gently peel back the layers they've hidden behind. May your love dissolve the shame that tried to silence their voice. And may truth rise in them like morning light, not rushed, not forced, but real. For the one listening now who has carried the weight of silence with dignity, may your Spirit comfort and affirm them. Remind them, Lord, that they have never been forgotten. Their patience was not weakness. Their stillness was not abandonment. It was strength wrapped in surrender. You were there all along, God. For hearts that are preparing to speak, to confess, to return, let them be led not by guilt, but by holy understanding. Let healing happen not through grand gestures, but through quiet honesty. Let restoration come not because we demand it, but because it reflects your nature, graceful, patient, and pure. We don't pray for perfect endings, Lord, but for divine insight. Not for people to complete us, but for truth to guide us. We trust that every step we took in faith, you saw. Every boundary we kept in peace, you honored. And every moment we chose love over retaliation, you remembered. Let what was planted in silence now bloom. Let what was lost in confusion now be found in divine insight. Let what was hidden in pride now be revealed in humility. And as you did for the prodigal, the Shunammite woman, Peter and Paul, do it again. Bring light where there was shadow. Speak peace where there was unrest. Speak love where there was fear. We receive what you are doing, even if we don't yet understand it. We trust you even when we can't trace you. We rest in the truth that you are working all things together for good. In the name of Jesus, the one who redeems every delay, heals every wound, and finishes every good work, he begins, we say amen. Thank you for being here, chosen one. If this prayer echoed something in your spirit, let it speak through your words. Share what you felt in the comments below. If you haven't yet, subscribe now. Don't miss the next word that's waiting to meet you right where you are. Turn on notifications, because when heaven whispers again, I want you to be ready. Something sacred is unfolding. Stay open. Stay expectant. Your breakthrough isn't behind you. It's being shaped within you. Until next time, grace and peace be with you always. Be with you.